For organization structure to set up, we have some requirements. See, business maintain data, business maintain data in one organization. In one business, there can be multiple organizations, right? In one business, there can be multiple organizations. Organization level. Yes or no?
Yes.
Like organization, what we mean organization is nothing but it can be any organization or it can be branches, uh, like branches or inventory organizations where actually business is existing, right? So basically, an organization is nothing but a part of business, and a business can have multiple organizations operating within it, right? So let's understand an organization in detail now. Uh, See, when any entrepreneur starts a business and maintaining some technology, in technology, especially like Oracle BTech, in Oracle, the first thing what is that we require to process transactions legally because every transaction is a legal transaction, right? So with they are not processing any illegal transactions. It's a legal transaction that is happening with with the reference of processing transactions, right? So when you process transaction or whenever company process business process transaction, they require a legal entity. Without legal entity, a transaction is invalid transaction.
Sir, your voice is breaking out.
Yeah, every business or every business is required in legal entity, right? If there is no legal entity and business is processing transactions, they are not a legal transactions. Yes or no?
Correct.
So here also, as part of the implementation, we have to set up legal entity so that with that legal entity, business process transaction. Next, what is that we require after legal entities? We require business units, operating units, you can say, or business units, you can say. Basically, business won't operate from one location, right? Business will be operating from many locations, right? So every location, I mean, location-wise transactions will be maintained, right? I mean, every transaction happens in the location. Let's take one example. TCS. TCS is a legal entity, right? Tata uh, Consulting Services India Private Limited. It's a legal entity. Yes or no? Legally
Yes.
registered business, and it is operating. I mean, it is a part of Tata Groups, right? It is a part of Tata Groups, and it is registered as Tata Consulting Services India Private Limited or India Limited, whatever, and under which there are many branches, right? Under which there are many branches. Similar way, when we define organization structure, whenever we define organization structure, we require legal entity, or it can be legal entities. Like if Tata Groups is using Oracle, then there will be legal entities if they are using this Oracle and with, or if they are using this Oracle by so many businesses like TCS, Tata Motors, Tata Steels, all are different businesses that are operating under Tata Groups, right? Or that are existing under Tata Groups, right? So every business have its own legal entity for legal reporting purpose and for legal transaction process purpose, right? So legal entities under a group, there can be legal entities or only one entity. It depends. And legal entity using Legal entity, we call it as business unit. A transaction happens under business unit. Normally, transactions happens under business unit. What kind of transaction happens under business unit?
Cash sales, credit
Purchase,
sales.
sales,
Yeah.
payment, receipts, right? These all operates in the business unit. So basically, business unit is actually a operating unit for the legal entity, right? Where business is operating. So there can be multiple operating units or there can be multiple business units for one entity. There is no rule that one business unit only required for the legal entity. There can be multiple operating units for one entity. And all operating units or business units, whatever transactions, see now, let's say my legal entity is TCS. For example, I have an operating unit, TCS Hyderabad. I'm just writing like this. It can be a code in the real time. TCS Pune, TCS Mumbai, like this meaning. Okay. And we have Tata Motors Hyderabad. So Tata Motors Hyderabad, I've added here just to show you example. Let's say there will be one more entity, Tata Motors Limited, TCS Limited, Tata Motors Limited. All these need to be assigned to Tata Motors Limited. This three, see, if one of this, if you assign to Tata Motors Limited, not TCS Limited, then the transactions that you process under this will go to the wrong entity, will process under wrong entity, right? We what we do in the software, we create business units uh, to use for operating transactions or processing transactions, and those business units will be associated with the legal entity. So, which business is operating under operating unit, or which business is operating under business unit? We have to link that business unit to the particular so and so legal entity. We need to create a link between this. We need to associate the business unit to the legal entity. That's how we create a link between these two. So whatever transactions will be processed here, it is for so and so entity. And one business unit cannot be assigned to two entities. System don't accept it. System don't allow because practically it is not possible. So if I am creating a business unit or operating unit with TCS Hyderabad, TCS Hyderabad cannot be assigned to Tata Motors and Tata TCS Limited or Tata Steels, right? So it should be associated with only TCS Limited. Yes or no? So you may get a question. See, in same location, same building, we have two business operating units, like Tata Motors and TCS both. So create with the same address, with the same location name, create one more operating unit for Tata Motors separately, and that will be associated with Tata Motors Limited Company. Got it? So basically, operating unit is not only the location. Operating unit is a operating, like you can say, operating organization created in the software using which business can process transactions. Clear?
Can you repeat again? Don't mind.
See, business unit we create just to process transactions, right? See, all
Yes.
transactions will be controlled and processed at business unit level. And that business unit will be a part of one entity only. It cannot be a part of two entities, right? Yes or no, Naresh?
Yes.
So that's what I gave example. So one business unit cannot be assigned to two entities. System don't accept it. Okay. And when business process transactions like payment, receipt, AR invoices, AP invoices, many more like purchase orders, order management process, or sales order process, whatever. So when business process, even inventory, when business process all these transactions, it will be processed and maintained at business unit level. These all transactions will be processed and maintained at business unit level. That means all these O2C transactions will be processed and maintained at business unit level. And this business unit to business unit, it will be different. I mean, it will be different and maintained at business unit level. Let's say there are 10 business units. All 10 business units will get access to process this type of transactions. It will not happen only under one business unit, right? All business unit can do this activities. And when business is performing these all activities, as I said, there will be an accounting entry, right? We have discussed about accounting entries in the last session. So where these accounting entries goes, these accounting entries are creating because of, I mean, to create these accounting entries, ledger is required, right? Can accounting entries process without ledger? No, right? So ledger is required to process accounting entries, and after accounting entries are processed in P2P and O2C cycle, to post those accounting entries, ledger is required again. So accounting entries processed in the subledger module with the use of ledger, and posting also happens in the ledger. That means we need a ledger for legal entity. Why ledger is required? To process accounts. Now, for one entity, one ledger is enough. You don't require multiple ledgers. I mean, practically, it is not allowed in system. One entity you can assign to more than one ledger. You can assign to only one ledger. One entity can assign to only one ledger. So entity we will be associating with the ledger, and all this happens in the business unit, right? So business unit we will assign to the entity as well as, see, once you assign to the entity, it will also associate with the ledger, because the entity is associated to the ledger. Clear? Let's say, for example, here Santosh is an entity, Naresh is a ledger, and Shashank, or we will take one name, our joinees, like Lokesh was there. So Lokesh is, let's say, business unit. Okay. So I have created a Lokesh for an example. Business unit is Lokesh, right? So I have created a Lokesh and I have assigned to Santosh. Santosh is an entity. So when I assign Lokesh to Santosh, it will automatically assign with Naresh also, because already Santosh and Naresh both are interlinked, because Santosh is an entity and Naresh is a ledger. So these two are interlinked because we link legal entity with the ledger. So when I assign business unit to the legal entity, it will also associate to the ledger. And whichever the ledger it is associated, from that ledger, accounting will be processed. So transactions will be processed at subledger level, that is payables, receivables, inventory, order, whatever. These all transactions will be processed at subledger level. And for to process transactions in subledger, business unit is required. And after transactions are processed, to create accounting and post accounting, we require a ledger. Got it. Without ledger, there will not be any accounting entries. See, first thing, without ledger, you can't create business unit. While creating business unit itself, it will ask you to assign to the legal entity, and when you assign to legal entity, ledger need to pull. If ledger you are not able to pull, then system don't allow you to save that business unit. It's a part of setup. That's how Oracle is designed. So every setup is dependency on other setup. Is this clear as of now?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So under business unit, there will be inventory organizations. Inventory organizations, finance is not required. Supply chain management is required, but I'll explain you what is the use of inventory management. Sorry, inventory organizations. See, inventory organizations are basically a warehouse, kind of warehouse. See, normally when company do purchase and sell, so when let's discuss about purchase first. When company do purchase an item, it can be asset item, expense item, or inventory item. But when company purchase any item, first it has to go to the inventory organization, right, to show the quantity that is received, right? It has to go to the inventory organization, and from inventory organization, it will be go to the when it will be utilized. So inventory organization is required to process and keep tracking of the receiving items. And when company sell, they require to show whatever they have sold, right? To process orders, they require inventory organization because all items they pick, all product companies selling, they take it from the inventory organization. They need to track what is coming in, what is going out in the warehouse, right? So how many products are sold, how many is available. So based on that only month and time or weekend, every weekly they pull the inventory report and they understand whatever is what is not available, what is available, right? So inventory organization is required to keep tracking of items so that they can do inventory management. For inventory management, inventory organization is required. It's kind of a warehousing system. In technology, you can't say warehouse. Practically, in business, it is warehouse, but in technology, we create that as an inventory organization to maintain items and products. Clear? So this is what required
Yeah.
to create one organization structure. So on top of this, there will be enterprise. Enterprise is nothing but like group. It is nothing but, for example, Tata Groups or Reliance Industries, whatever. So under which there will be multiple entities. Entity will be each for each entity you can create a separate ledger. If two companies have same accounts, still why do we create ledger for accounts process, right? For financial reporting and for account and financial reports you get when you process accounts for the transactions. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Processing accounts when company process transactions to process accounts, we require a ledger. If two companies have a same requirement, see under Tata there are multiple companies, so there is a chance two companies of Tata may have same requirement, right? If two companies have similar requirements for the accounts, like they require the same almost same information for their accounting or financial reports or for their accounting process, in that case we create one we associate two entities to one ledger. That means entities are different. Data will be separated based on the entity, but all data will be commonly stored in one ledger. That is possible in Oracle. But very rarely you see that. Like you won't see that actually. But there is a chance when you get this kind of requirement, two entities they want to maintain under one ledger. If business stays when you go for implementation, you will ask them like, okay, but for both entities, are you using same chart of account, same calendar, year start and end? If they say yes, we have a same similar, everything is similar, then okay, we can maintain. We can tell them yes, we can do that in Oracle. We can maintain one ledger for two entities. It is possible. If they have different requirements for the accounts, then it is not possible. Clear, my friends? So hope this is clear. So why multiple entities can be used under one ledger? Yeah. Now, see, legal entity, setting up legal entity in software is very simple. It's nothing but a business details we set up, like legal name, tax number of the business, legally registered address. So all this we will create in the system. Legal entity is not something uh, uh, like tough task or critical task to set up. It is just a legal business details. That's it. And business unit is also not a big task. It is just name of the location or name of the business unit along with address. And inventory organization is part of uh, supply chain management, so we don't require to know. It's a big task actually, inventory management, but it's a part of supply chain, not required to know. And even enterprise is also not a big task. We just create a name and address of the enterprise, like Tata Groups, we are creating. So Tata Groups, along with whatever the address provided by the business. Nothing else we do. Ledger is a big task for finance to set up. A lot of discussions are required. A lot of inputs are required from the client, right? I mean, it takes like long time to decide how ledger need to be set up. Because ledger to set up ledger, see ledger setup is very easy, but to set up ledger we require something called forces, prerequisites. So that prerequisites to gather or get the requirement of forces from the business is a big challenge for us and big task for us. So what these forces are: calendar. See, before I write about forces. Basically, to create accounts and post, we required date. Because see, whatever accounts we are creating and posting, that we are going to use for financial reporting. And financial reporting happens for the period or for the quarter or for the year, right? So if you do not take a date and you process transaction, then in which period that transaction is falling, in which year the transaction is falling, business don't know, right? That's why every transaction required to be shown with the date. And chart of account. Chart of account is nothing but to process accounts, debit and credit accounts, or you can say nature of the account. And then currency. So every ledger required one currency because when you are processing any transactions in college days also we have learned you have to show debit amount, credit amount. See, one ledger can have only one currency as a primary currency, like business functional currency. Why? Because let's say for example, if my business is legally registered in India and I'm operating my business in India, I also do transaction with USA, UK, Australia, Dubai, let's say. As my business is registered in India, I have my functional currency or my business operating currency must be INR. It cannot be USD, AUD, GBP, or any other currency. Right.
Yes.
So currency is required. One currency is required to associate, and we can do foreign currency transactions. But that foreign currency transaction converts into INR also because our functional currency, business currency is INR. Right. And we required something called conversion conversion method. Actually, conversion method we are not calling it as nowadays. We are calling it as subledger accounting method. Okay. This subledger, see, currency is per amount. This conversion or subledger accounting method is used for transferring accounts from subledger to ledger. Example, AP to GL, AR to GL. Got it? Like AP is subledger module. We need to transfer AP entries to GL, right? For that, what entries need to be transferred, that we will decide in the subledger accounting method. The subledger accounting method need to be associated with the ledger so that with the help of subledger accounting method, we can get entries transferred from subledger to ledger because ledger is the one from where we prepare financial reports. So ledger is kind of a heart of the financial or heart of the application actually. The reason because without ledger you can't operate business because every process of the transaction have financial involvement, right? It can be supply chain management or it can be HR payroll also. So whenever financial involvement is there, there must be accounting entry created and transferred to GL to show in the financial reporting, right? So every subledger module transfers journal entries, create journal entries and transfer to the ledger only. And ledger gives us financial reports, right? Hope this is clear, guys. So today we will complete discussion on calendar. Currency I have already discussed. Conventions method we can discuss only once we go to the system. Chart of account is actually 45 minutes session. It will take 40, at least more than 30 minutes it will take. So we will take this to the next session tomorrow. We'll discuss about calendar. See, calendar normally in most of the business you will see calendar can be a Jan to December or it can be a different. So when company is following Jan to December, it is also a financial year, but it is they are following the calendar year as financial year. Some business follow fiscal year. Fiscal year is nothing but like it can be April to March, July to June, right? Or it can be any it can be a October to September, right? So this type of calendars call as fiscal year. Okay, but whenever we create a calendar in Oracle, it will not allow you to save if you are not taking the whole year. So if I start on July 1st, my calendar need to end on 30th June next year. If I am trying to end on like 31st May, system says that it's not a complete year. It will not allow you to save. To save, it requires full year. And most of the companies follow 1 month as one period, month as a period. Okay. January as one period, February as one period, March as one period, April as one period. So periods. And 3 periods as one quarter. So we'll create the same way. We'll create calendar in the same way. And we will use that calendar or we will tag that calendar to the ledger so that we can use ledger for accounting entries process. And currency, as I said, currency we can attach only one currency to the ledger and other currencies we can use for transaction process for foreign currency transaction. But one currency will be a functional reporting currency. In that currency only business reports. Okay. And as I have discussed, subledger accounting method is nothing but it's a method that we can use for transferring subledger accounting entries to the ledger. In accounting entries transfer process happens based on this subledger bridge. It's a bridge between ledger, between subledger to ledger. Yeah, any questions?
No.
Okay. So, as only you two joined today, so I'll wind up session here. And tomorrow I'll discuss on chart of account. And let's meet tomorrow. And we will be having a full complete 1 hour session once we start practical. You will have like 40-45 minute session for the next 1 or 2 days also, as we are working on theory part and people will be registering and joining the sessions. And once once all are in, once everyone get enrolled for the training, then you will have practical session starts and complete 1 hour session. That will happen from Wednesday onwards, mostly. No questions? Then I'll wind up session here. Well, let's meet tomorrow at 7:30.
Okay,
Bye
sir.
all.
Sure.
Okay, okay.